If you're listening to this alone, I want you to pause for a second. Just listen to your house. The hum of electricity, the settling wood, the distant pipes. Now imagine one of those sounds doesn't belong. That's how this started. It began with something small, a faint knocking inside the walls of my apartment. Not loud enough to alarm me at first. Just irregular. 3 slow taps, then silence. Sometimes it would happen in the middle of the afternoon. Sometimes at 3 a.m. Always 3 taps. If you ever lived in an older building, you know how easy it is to rationalize noises. Pipes expand, wood contracts, rodents move around. I convinced myself it was something explainable. But here's the first thing that bothered me. It only happened when I was in the room. I tested it. I would sit in my living room for an hour. Nothing. The moment I walked into my bedroom and shut the door, 3 taps from inside the wall beside my bed every time. And if I left the room immediately after, the tapping would stop. Tell me something. If you were me, would you still pretend that was plumbing? After a week, I started recording the sound on my phone. I wanted proof I wasn't imagining it. The recordings picked up the taps clearly. 3 distinct knocks, evenly spaced. But there was something else. Under the knocking, barely audible, there was a soft dragging sound, like something shifting inside the wall. That was the first night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the wall beside me, waiting for it. Around 2:47 a.m., it happened again. 3 taps. Slow. Intentional. But this time, there was a 4th sound. A long scrape directly behind my headboard. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I didn't move. I just listened. And then I realized something that made my blood run cold. The tapping wasn't random. It was matching my breathing. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. In the same rhythm as my inhale and exhale. I held my breath. The tapping stopped completely. The silence stretched on for what felt like minutes. And then, from inside the wall, there was a single slow knock, like it was responding. If you're getting uncomfortable right now, good. That's exactly how I felt. The next morning, I contacted my landlord. He sent someone to inspect the walls. They found nothing. No rodents. No structural issues. No hollow spaces large enough for anything to move around. But that night, it escalated. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. Not from the bedroom this time, but from behind the bathroom mirror. 3 taps. I stepped back slowly. The mirror vibrated slightly, just enough for me to notice. Then came the scraping again. Closer. Louder. Something inside the wall shifted hard enough to make the light fixture flicker. And then I saw it. A faint outward pressure on the dry wall in the hallway. Like fingers pressing from inside. 5 indentations, slowly dragging downward. I didn't sleep in the apartment that night. I stayed at a friend's place, trying to convince myself it was stress, lack of sleep, anything logical. But the next day, When I returned to grab clothes, the air inside felt different. Heavy, stale, and there was a smell. Not rot, not mold. Something earthy, damp, like soil. The tapping started immediately when I stepped inside. Not free taps this time. 6. 3. Pause. 3. I stood frozen in the entryway. Then, the sound began moving inside the walls, traveling from the bedroom to the hallway to the kitchen, following me. Every time I took a step, the sound shifted to the wall closest to me. It wasn't random. It was tracking me. Now here's where I need you to really picture this. Imagine standing in your own home, fully aware that something inside the walls knows exactly where you are, and it's adjusting. I backed toward the front door. The tapping stopped. For a moment I thought maybe leaving had worked before, so maybe it would again. But instead of tapping, I heard something else. Breathing. Faint, but unmistakable. From inside the wall, beside the door. Slow inhale, slow exhale. Matching mine again. I stopped breathing. It stopped too. Then, slowly, the drywall began to bulge outward, right at eye level. The shape wasn't random this time. It was a face, pressing from inside. No features at first. Just the outline. Then the impressions deepened. Hollow is where eyes should be. A ridge for a nose. A stretched indentation where a mouth would sit. It pushed so hard I could hear the wood studs creaking behind it. And then the mouth indentation widened, as if it was trying to open. The drywall didn't break. It just stretched unnaturally far without tearing. I ran. I left everything behind and never went back. The landlord later told me there was no structural damage. No broken walls, no reports from new tenants. But here's the part that still keeps me awake. A week after I moved out, I listened back to the final recording I had captured on my phone. The tapping was there. The scraping was there. But at the very end, after I had clearly left the apartment, and the room was empty, there was something new. A voice. Not loud. Not clear, but layered beneath the sound of shifting drywall. And it wasn't speaking to me. It was counting. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1, 2, 3. If you're home alone right now, I want you to listen carefully. If you hear 3 knocks from somewhere inside your walls, don't knock back, because it might not be trying to get out. It might be trying to learn the rhythm of you. Before I start, I want you to think about this. How often do you check behind you at night? Be honest. Not because you heard something. Not because someone told you to. Just because something in your brain whispers that you're not alone. I used to think that feeling was instinct. Now I think it's recognition. It started the week I installed security cameras in my house. Nothing dramatic had happened. No break-ins. No threats. I just liked the idea of seeing every angle. Front door, backyard, garage, hallway. especially the hallway. For some reason, that stretch of space between my bedroom and the living room had always made me uneasy at night. It was narrow, long, and darker than the rest of the house, even with lights on. The first few nights after installing the cameras were normal. I checked the live feed before bed, scrolled through the footage in the morning, nothing unusual. Until Thursday. I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. You know that heavy, drained feeling, like your body rested but your mind didn't. When I checked the camera app that morning, there was a notification. Motion detected. Hallway. 3:12 a.m. My stomach tightened. I opened the clip. The hallway was empty at first. The infrared night vision made everything look flat and colorless. My bedroom door was closed. The living room at the end of the hall was dark. Then, at exactly 3:12, something shifted. Not a shadow from outside, not light from passing cars. A figure stepped partially into frame from the living room side, tall, still, human-shaped. It didn't move like someone walking. It was more like it slid into view. It stood there for 11 seconds. Then it stepped back out of frame. That was it. No face visible, just a silhouette. Now, here's the important part. I live alone. If you saw that on your camera, what would you assume? Intruder, right? That's what I thought too. I checked the other cameras. Front door, no motion all night. Backyard, nothing. Garage, empty. No one entered. No one left. I searched the house, closets, attic, under the bed. Nothing. I almost convinced myself it was a glitch. Compression artifact. Shadow distortion. Until the next night. Another notification. 3:12 a.m. This time, I didn't wait until morning. I checked it immediately from bed. The live feed loaded. The hallway was empty. Then my bedroom door handle slowly turned. From the outside, the door didn't open. It just trembled slightly as the handle rotated downward and released. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the door from my bed. It wasn't moving. The live feed still showed the hallway. And then the figure appeared again. Closer this time, not at the end of the hallway. Halfway down, standing directly in front of my door. Its head tilted slightly as if listening. I was inside the room, completely still. The door handle didn't move again, but the figure stayed there for 43 seconds. Then it stepped backward into the darkness of the living room and vanished from view. I didn't sleep. The next day, I reviewed the footage frame by frame. And that's when I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The figure had depth. It wasn't transparent. It wasn't light distortion. It blocked the infrared light from reflecting off the wall behind it. It was solid. That night, I did something I'm still not sure was smart. I left my bedroom door slightly open, just enough to see into the hallway from my bed. I told myself I needed to know if the camera was malfunctioning or if something was actually there. Before going to sleep, I checked the live feed one more time. Empty hallway. 2:58 a.m. 3 3:07 a.m., 3:11 a.m. My eyes were locked on both my phone screen and the crack in the door. At 3:12, the notification appeared. Motion detected. And at the exact same moment, I saw it. Not on the screen. With my own eyes. A darker shape in the hallway, blocking what little ambient light filtered from the living room window. It was standing there, right outside my room. If you're picturing a shadow cast by something else, stop. There was nothing behind it to create that shape. It was the source. I couldn't make out details, but I could see the outline clearly. Arms slightly longer than normal, shoulders too narrow, head tilted again, watching. I checked the live feed without moving my head. On the screen, the figure was facing the camera, but in real life, it was angled toward my door, toward me. The proportions didn't match exactly, like the camera wasn't seeing it the way I was. Then it did something that I will never forget. On the screen, the figure slowly raised one arm, but in the hallway outside my door, nothing moved. The shape remained perfectly still. The arm on the camera feed lifted higher and higher until it pointed directly at the lens. At the same time, my bedroom door began to open wider. Slowly, silently. No visible contact, just drifting inward. If you're thinking I should have run, you're right. But I couldn't move. The temperature in the room dropped so suddenly that I could see my breath. The live feed glitched for half a second. When it came back, the figure was gone. The hallway outside my door was empty. But my door was now fully open. I searched the entire house again. Locked windows, locked doors, no signs of forced entry. The footage from the rest of the night showed nothing. I replaced the hallway camera the next day, installed a second one beside it. That night at 3:12, both cameras detected motion, but only one recorded the figure. The other showed an empty hallway, same angle, same lighting. One captured it, one didn't. And here's the part that's worse than everything else. 2 nights ago, I moved. Different house, different layout. I haven't installed cameras here yet. Last night I woke up at 3:12 a.m. No notification. If you've ever worked a night shift, you already know something feels off about those hours. The world isn't built for 3 a.m. hospitals, gas stations, warehouses. They all feel like they're pretending to be normal places. But they aren't. Not at night. And if you've ever struggled to stay awake during one of those shifts, I need you to think carefully about something. Are you sure you only fell asleep once? I used to work overnight security at a distribution warehouse in the Midwest. Nothing dramatic. Just long, quiet hours, sitting at a desk, watching camera feeds and doing patrols every 60 minutes. The building was massive. Rows of tall, shelving units, concrete floors, motion sensor lights that flicked on one section at a time when you walked through. It was isolating, but easy money. Until the night I lost 8 minutes. At least, that's what I thought it was at first. I remember checking the time on my phone. 2:18 a.m. I leaned back in the chair, just resting my eyes. Not sleeping, just blinking, slowly. The next thing I knew, I jerked forward, 2:26 a.m. 8 minutes gone. You've done that before, right? Microsleep. Your brain shuts down without asking permission. I felt embarrassed more than anything. So I stood up, grabbed my flashlight, and started my patrol early to wake myself up. That's when I noticed the first problem. The motion lights were already on. Halfway down ISO 14, that meant something had triggered them. The warehouse had no scheduled deliveries that night. No cleaning crew, just me. I stood there watching the lit section from the end of the aisle. The lights stay on for about 90 seconds after detecting movement. They didn't turn off. They stayed on, as if something was still standing there. If you were in that position, what would you assume? A trespasser? An animal? That's what I told myself. I walked slowly toward the lighted section, and as I moved, the next row of lights flicked on. Further down. Then another. Like something was walking away from me at the exact same pace. I stopped. The lights ahead stayed on. The ones behind me shut off, leaving me in a tunnel of dim concrete and one brightly lit section in the distance. Then, all at once, the lit section went dark. Complete blackness. I finished my patrol without finding anything unusual. But when I returned to the security desk, I checked the camera logs. At 2:19 a.m., motion was detected in ISO 14. At 2:20 a.m., motion in ISO 15. 2:21, ISO 16. 2:22, ISO 17. It was moving in a straight line, away from the desk. The strange part, there was no visible figure in any of the footage. The motion detection boxes appeared on screen, tracking something's path, but the aisles looked empty. That's when I rewound to 2:18 a.m. The moment before I lost time. The camera pointed at the security desk showed me leaning back in my chair, my eyes closed. Then, at 2:19, something stepped into frame behind me. If you're picturing a clear image, don't. It wasn't clear. It was darker than the room. Not solid, but not transparent either. Tall, narrow, slightly distorted at the edges, like heat rising off asphalt. It stood directly behind my chair, watching me sleep. For the entire 8 minutes, it didn't move much. Just subtle shift, a tilt of the head, a slight lean closer. At 2:26, my body on camera jerked awake, and the thing behind me leaned forward, far too close to my face. Then it was gone, not walking away, just gone between frames. That night, I didn't sit back in the chair again. The next shift, I came prepared. Energy drinks, cold water, bright desk lamp. I wasn't going to fall asleep. Around 3 a.m., I felt it again. That wave of sudden heaviness, not natural tiredness. Pressure, like gravity increasing just slightly. My eyelids felt weighted. And here's the part that still messes with me. I wasn't alone in that feeling. The motion lights at the far end of the warehouse flicked on, one by one. Not triggered by footsteps, triggered in sync with my blinking. Every time my eyes closed for a split second, a new section lit up deeper in the building, like something was advancing each time I lost sight of it. I forced my eyes open wide. The light stopped progressing. I blinked. Another row lit up. Further, deeper. I checked the camera feed. The same distortion from the night before was visible. Faint, elongated, standing between the shelves. Watching the desk. Watching me fight sleep. And then I realized something worse. The timestamps didn't match. The live feed said 3:04 a.m. My phone said 3:11. 7 minutes missing. Again. But I hadn't closed my eyes longer than a blink. The camera view switched briefly to static. When it returned, the distortion wasn't between the shelves anymore. It was halfway down the main walkway. Closer. The motion lights weren't reacting now. They were all on. As if everything in the building had been activated at once. My reflection in the security monitor looked pale, exhausted. But behind my reflection, faintly visible in the dark glass, there was a taller outline, standing directly behind me. Again. If you're listening to this late at night, I want you to think about how many times you've blinked and lost track of a few seconds. Because I finally understood what was happening. It wasn't waiting for me to fall asleep. It was feeding on the gaps, the microseconds when my brain shut off. Each blink wasn't a blink. It was an opening. And every opening let it move closer. I quit that job after the third night. But here's what still keeps me up. A week after I left, the warehouse manager called. He said they had reviewed old footage after noticing irregularities in the motion logs. Apparently, it wasn't just me. Every overnight guard over the past year had unexplained gaps in their time logs. Between 6 and 10 minutes. Always between 2 o'clock and 3:30 a.m. And in every recording, during those missing minutes, something stood behind them, watching, not attacking, not touching, just waiting. So tonight, when you're tired and your eyes start to close, pay attention to how long they stay shut. Because if you ever wake up feeling like you only blinked, ask yourself something. What if you didn't wake up immediately? What if something was standing over you for much longer than you think? And what if it's still there, waiting for the next blink?